The U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee has just dropped a bombshell. Starting in 2025, women could be required to register for selective service.
Let me get this right. You want to pass a law to draft my daughter to send to another one of your foreign wars for something you created so your arms manufacturers can make more money for your banker friends. Did I get that solid right or not? Now, wrong, elephant breath. My daughter will not be joining the military any way, shape, or form unless it's to fight this war that this government has started against its people.
That's right, ladies. Saddle up and come on down. Welcome to the Price is Right of national defense. Your number might be up. The price is right. In the name of equality, our daughters may now join our sons in the grand tradition of being drafted to fight in whatever conflicts our nation deems necessary, whether that's propping up a failed democracy that's now should be known as a banana republic, protecting our oil interests.
We should have kept the oil when we got out.
Doing the bidding of our APAC babysitters.
Everybody but me has an APAC person.
What does that mean, an APAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your APAC babysitter.
Or just because our politicians are sociopaths who love death, money laundering, and destruction.
It's about the best national defense spending I think we've ever done. We're losing no lives in Ukraine.
The National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025 has just come out of the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee. It has not been taken up for the larger vote yet. But could you imagine if it passes? The scene, a room full of lawmakers. These are the same lawmakers who were running around flying that blue and yellow flag after they sent billions of dollars to one of the most corrupt countries in the world. They were patting themselves on the back then. They would be patting themselves on the back for this monumental leap towards equality. After all, isn't this what gender equality is all about? Well, congratulations, feminists. Hut 2, Hut 3, 4, G.I. Jane, anyone?
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay.
Let's just hope none of the 3 women who still listen to this channel take offense to that.
Oh, wow.
We've got a potential world war brewing, and who better to send into the fray than the brave liberal women who have been so vocal about supporting Ukraine and these other wars all over the world. You've tweeted, posted, and rallied for Ukraine. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is and back it up on the battlefield. This decision is about much more than just military readiness. It strikes at the heart of what it means to be a citizen, intertwining conscription with voting and civic duty. You'd think this idea of requiring women to register for selective service is a shiny new concept, but nope. It's been kicked around for a while. Back in 1981, the Supreme Court decided it was perfectly fine to have a male-only draft because, hey, women aren't allowed in combat roles anyway. The military opened all combat roles to women, and suddenly the question pops up again. Nobody wants it. It's uncomfortable, I guess, but I'm going to ask it. Shouldn't women also register for the draft if they're going to be allowed to vote? Let's cut through the smoke and mirrors first. The real reason behind this latest push isn't about noble ideals of gender equality. It's about cold, hard numbers. Military enrollment is dropping faster than Acolyte viewership after episode 3.
Power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
And with global conflicts simmering, the armed forces need all hands on deck, whether they got their nails done or not. Think about it. China potentially teaming up with Russia. Saudi Arabia skipping the G7 to attend a meeting with Pootie Bear, and the looming end of the petrodollar deal. If there is no petrodollar, the only thing backing the dollar is the military, is the bullets, is the gun. This isn't about giving women a fair shake. It's about plugging a hole, pause, no diddy, in the sinking ship of military recruitment. The fact that fewer men are signing up means the military needs to cast a wider net. And what better way to do that than to drag women into the fold? I'm going to always cut through the pretense. The growing number of men identifying as women is complicating the draft system. This trend that forces society to ignore basic biology is throwing a wrench into the works by requiring requiring all women to register, regardless of their gender identity, the military ensures that it's got more potential draftees and it doesn't have to have that uncomfortable conversation, the hypocritical conversation. It's a clever, somewhat cynical move to cover all bases in the era of shifting gender norms. Just look at what happened in Ukraine. When the war broke out, the same democracy in quotations that we're being told that needs to be upheld, when transgender women in that country, biological men, tried to pull a Homer Simpson meme and disappear into the bushes, wishing everyone else a good luck during the war with Russia, the reality hit hard. There was an elephant in the room, and it was the elephant trunk between their legs. The message was clear: buy the democracy. Untuck it, grab a machine gun, and get to the front line now. Or we'll drive around in white vans and pull you out of your house ourselves. This is the harsh reality of war. No more gender studies, just survival studies. Let's be real. The draft is a blatant violation of the 13th Amendment, and there's probably some former presidents that would agree. Bill Clinton had educational deferments. He skipped the Vietnam War. Donald Trump had student deferment. He had famously bone spurs, skipped the Vietnam War. Joe Biden, educational deferments, skipped the Vietnam War. George W. joined the Texas Air National Guard using family connections, skipped the Vietnam War. Dick Cheney, Mr. Halliburton, never saw a war he didn't like. 5 deferments, 4 for education. Bernie Sanders, multiple deferments for education and conscientious objector status. With men like that, who needs women? But the reality is the draft is here to stay. I think taxation is a stupid idea. I think it's theft, but what do you want to do about it? The reality is it's here to stay, and in part because probably 52% of the voting bloc can vote for it without being registered for the draft. Isn't that partly why originally only landowners could vote? We are beginning to understand the founders more and more each day as the republic crumbles like Revenge of the Sith. This is not about imposing anything on women. It's about explaining that these civic responsibilities should be linked together. We wouldn't be in an uproar if we said anyone who was exempt automatically on face value from all federal taxes shouldn't get to vote. So why would we be in an uproar if some people are required to put their life on the line at age 18 and others aren't, and they both get the same right to vote? The draft was implemented in 1917 during World War I. That means when the 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920, the draft was already in place. The discussion about linking women's suffrage with draft eligibility should have been had then. Voting and being drafted are intrinsically linked. There is no competent argument against this connection. The moral conundrum is this. The conundrum is this. Where do your morals guide you? Do our morals guide us to valuing men, fighting battles caused by men, instinctually should be fought by men? This is in the realm of Mother Nature and God, while women and children are to be protected? If that's the case, that perspective does not leave room for women to participate in the political process. It does not leave room for women to vote for representatives who put us to war. They don't have the skin in the game, literally. On the other side, this is also a perfectly fine argument. If your moral foundations dictate that the right for women to vote is more important, if that's the more important moral decision, in that case, they should be eligible to be drafted in the same way that men are. No different than men. This isn't about imposing more burdens on anyone. It's about recognizing that if we want to preserve the rights we hold dear, we must be willing to shoulder the responsibilities that come with it. If you want to play the equality card, let's not do it half-heartedly. If we're dragging women into the draft, let's make sure we're holding everyone accountable for their civic responsibilities. If you're going to demand equal participation in governance and politics, then equal participation in national defense is not a nice to have, it's a must.
Middle MAGA.